And welcome in to the Week 7 Waiver Wire show for the Fantasy 4-Pack. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale, Frankie Santiago. We're bringing you guys our weekly 3 and out as well as our favorite waiver ads this week. Before we dive into the show as a whole, let's get through some news. It was another bad week for injuries. I feel like I've said this before. Frankie, you could probably actually just cut this from a previous episode and then just drop it in here.
It would make editing harder, but...
Taylor Lewan, torn ACL, out for the season. He is the starting left tackle for the Tennessee Titans. So, bit of a blow for them.
Yeah, he was already injured a lot of the year, just in and out of games, and this is obviously a bad hit for the Titans offense. Particularly Derrick Henry.
Yeah, running back. I mean, even Derrick Henry, the absolute demigod amongst men that he is, does need an offensive line to function.
I mean, this ideally should be more of a hit to the passing game because the left tackle is usually the guy that's covering the blind side, whereas the right tackle is a little bit more key to the running game. So ideally, Henry can still do what he does. Do what he does when he do what he do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised if we see a little more quick dump offs if their left side starts getting blown up, unless the backup is serviceable. But yeah,
Ertz DNP today, expected to miss 3+ weeks. Sanders also DNP. He's at least not expected to play Thursday. Although from what I've heard for Sanders, it sounds like he's also going to be missing around 3 weeks. So we'll talk about Boston Scott a little bit later. Mark Ingram avoided a significant ankle injury. He has a chance to play this week. Obviously, if he doesn't play, that's a big boost to J.K. Dobbins and Gus Bus. But it's one you're going to have to watch because there's no official ruling as of yet. And then, completely contrary to what we were told last week, CMC apparently has a chance to come back this week now. Last week it was he's not coming back till after week 8. Now he might play this week. So, Mike Davis managers, you're throwing your hands up in the air on this one. You got a good run out of him at least.
I'm waiting for the news to come out tomorrow that CMC will not be playing in week 8.
Yeah, no, they're gonna come out and be like, CMC's actually been playing this whole time. Mike Davis, if you don't mind, Mike Davis is gonna be like, takes the mask off. It's just CMC under there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the ship has fully sailed on the trading Mike Davis for value, unless you have someone who's not paying attention. But I usually never advocate for the underhanded trade tactics. I mean, do your due diligence as a manager, but
sure.
Trading someone who's about to lose their job again, unless you're trading him to the CMC owner, who'd be like, just as like a, hey, you have this backfield now. But
Jonnu Smith had a ankle sprain. He might miss some time. It's another one you're gonna have to watch out for because there's no official word as of now when we're filming this, which is 6:52 Eastern time on Monday. But Jonnu Smith could miss some time. Questionable versus Steelers. Devontae Parker questionable with a groin. He at least was able to play for a good bit of that game. He got 8 targets against the Jets. Part of me wonders if Devontae Parker kind of just wasn't needed because they were playing the Jets, so that contributed to him not coming back in. But it's gonna be another one to monitor. He has had a bit of an injury history over his career. If he misses time, Preston Williams is a great ad. He's someone we're talking about today as well. And then this news just broke about 10 minutes ago. Raheem Mostert, per Kyle Shanahan, has a high left ankle sprain. He will miss time. IR is likely.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night while we were watching the game. It kind of sucks that he re-injured himself in a game that they won, but
yeah, I mean he's really good for that team. He runs like a man like a man on a mission. It's just his body doesn't run like a man on a mission. Like Raheem Mostert wants to run like he's Derrick Henry, but Raheem Mostert's body is like, okay, but what if we were more like, oh, I don't know,
Run DMC.
yeah, Run DMC or Arian Foster. It's like where you just get to see him be like really good for like 6 games a season, and then the other 10 he's like, ha ha, I have a crutch on my leg and my arm.
It's okay if they make the playoffs. He's going to run for 220 yards a game.
That doesn't help anyone. Is there any news that I overlooked here?
I think we nailed most of it.
Yeah, it's not fun. More running backs that are going to be missing time. Well, before we get into the waiver section of the show, let's do a little 3 and out. Frankie, you want to lead us off as always?
Well, the Titans, they are slowly showing that they are not just a one-trick pony anymore. Through the last 12 games of, or 10 games rather, of last season, Tannehill's averaging 23 passes a game. He's up to 34 for 262. That's a 40-yard improvement over last year.
Yeah, I mean it's like as we've talked about the Adam Gase effect. Like he's King Midas when you leave him, he turns you into gold.
Yeah, I mean even just like the total offensive plays, 68 a game. That's pretty high. I mean I didn't really expect that from kind of like a ground and pound game like the Titans. Looking at Derrick Henry in the passing game, I mean 24 attempts on 123 carries on the year, so that's almost a 50-50 split between passing and Derrick Henry's workload. So they're kind of going away from that one-trick pony of just, hey, we're just going to give the ball to Henry. And I think that may be due to all the injuries this year and lack of a preseason. I mean, he's definitely been doing his job, like getting into the end zone, being their red zone guy, obviously. But I think they're playing it a lot safer, despite the big contract, because I mean, obviously you don't want to put too much tread on those tires, but he is going to continue to see, I think, that he's going to see a little bit of uptick now that we're getting into the middle of the season. I mean, he obviously just had this monster game, which was in turn, in part, I guess, due to a 94-yard touchdown run, which was beautiful. But I think we might see Tannehill's numbers dip a little bit. He does have a little bit tougher of a schedule coming up. I don't think Henry's gonna go for 40 every week. So obviously we're gonna plan for that regression. He's not gonna pop off for a 50+ yard run. And when AJ Brown and Corey Davis are healthy, and when Jonah gets back, I think that they all have, with the amount of passing they're doing, relatively safe floors. I'm not saying they're gonna have super high ceilings, but I think that they're definitely guys I would feel comfortable putting in my lineup every week.
So I was going to say, you're planning for regression for Tannehill, even though the amazing Corey Davis is coming off of the COVID list. I mean, come on. The guy's a superstar.
I mean, obviously with...
You stunned Frankie right there.
Well, it's like, I mean, we got to see what the pass projection's like with Luan being out, like we just talked about earlier. So maybe they are going to be doing more of those dump offs. And I mean, again, they're not all healthy. He doesn't have all of his favorite weapons. So I think that we're just going to kind of see what this Titans offense evolves into as the season goes on. Everybody gets healthy and they start making their way towards the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we're seeing from the Titans is that Derrick Henry really should have been taken in the top 3, and AJ Brown is every bit the receiver that he was showing he was last year.
Which I may have been saying all preseason.
Yeah. Get to your next point, Frankie.
2 games, we'll see.
Matt Ryan looked better than he has in the last 3 games.
It's almost like he had Julio Jones back.
Yeah, going from, nice start, 28, 32 fantasy points in half-point PPR, to 11, 10, 4. And then, Julio comes back and right up there with 37 points. I think in games where Julio isn't there, you're definitely seeing not only Ryan struggle, but his other receivers struggle as well. Calvin Ridley in the Green Bay game posting a goose egg. But, I mean, I think that Calvin Ridley, specifically this year with Julio Jones in the game, And even without him in the game, he's only been under 100 yards once, and that was yesterday. He might not have the touchdown upside with Julio in there because obviously they're going to be splitting those red zone targets. Mm-hmm. My main takeaway from this whole thing is that Ridley and Ryan, Ridley to a lesser extent, but I mean, Ridley's a lock for me every week.
I think Ridley's a lock for everyone every week, Frankie.
If Julio's not there, I don't know how comfortable I am starting Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, Houston and Atlanta are good blueprints for the fact that, hey, when an elite Hall of Fame receiver leaves the offense, even for a short period of time, that offense suffers. Like everything, your top corners are now going to secondary and tertiary players. You're not able to impose your will with a guy who can just jump up in double coverage and pull it down like he can. Like I still get, even as a Pats player, I still get goosebumps watching that play where he just rips the ball away from Pats coverage just in the end zone. Like,
it's also just the fact that when you have a player like Julio or DeAndre Hopkins, you plan your offense around them because they're such an impact player, because they can do so much on the field in so many different ways. They can hurt the opposing team. It's almost like you're making a whole new game plan for games when they are not on the field. And Matt Ryan's had an all-star receiving core for his entire career. So, you take that away from him, it does kneecap him a little bit because, he's had Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez, and then he had Julio Jones. Now he has Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. It's like he's never not had that dominant, like, top 10 wide receiver in his offense.
So I just did the math. In games where Julio Jones left or only played part of, or I guess left or wasn't there, he's averaging 8.3 fantasy points this season. Yeah. With him there, he's averaging 32.
It's a common trend of older quarterbacks.
That is astounding.
As quarterbacks age, they lean on their number ones more. We saw it with Brady and Jules, Rodgers and Devontae, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Is like they are kind of beholden to their number one option. They get very comfortable throwing to them. And when you have a guy like Julio who's, a lock for 150 targets a season, basically, it's like it becomes difficult to function if you don't have him around.
Yeah.
You can't just one-for-one transfer that to Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. And my last point, I mean, Aaron Jones, my guy this season, he is slowly coming down to earth. I think that this is, mainly due to the struggles of Aaron Rodgers posting a nice 35.4 QBR yesterday.
It just looked like they weren't prepared to play the Buccaneers.
They looked like they were having their way with everybody throughout the NFL, and I was like, all right, well,
the Bucs have a tough defense, though, and they ran it a lot against them. Like, they controlled that game early, and Rodgers won. He looked like he was missing a Lazard. He could not complete the ball to people not named Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Aaron Jones not even still managed. He was saved by a touchdown on the day, only getting 15 yards on the ground, just scraping into double-digit rushes.
Sure.
And I think that's, obviously the play action is a huge part of Aaron Rodgers, like his, whatever you want to call it.
Ceiling? Play style?
There we go. But, no, I think that, we're seeing a little bit less. I think we're going to see in tougher matchups, Aaron Jones is going to have to be more of a part of that receiving game if everybody else is struggling. Because, he is a very talented running back. And I think that, with the relatively tough schedule, Indy, Chicago, Philly in there, their defensive fronts are...
I think you will see more of him, though.
Yeah, we saw it through the first couple of games in the season. 66, 168, 69, 71. That's very serviceable yardage on the ground on an average 15 attempts. Yeah. I think that we're going to see a little bit of him coming back down, but when he has those cake matchups, I think that we're not going to see those super pop games like we did with Jacksonville. But
Aaron Jones is showing you why he doesn't belong in the top end of running backs, because because of how the Packers use him, he is touchdown dependent. So when he isn't getting a touchdown, he's just a top 24 guy, kind of run of the mill. When he's getting the touchdowns, and because he plays for the Packers, he has that multi-touchdown threat every week. So it's like when he's getting into the end zone, that's the pop games. That's when you are thrilled you have Aaron Jones. But there is always that threat that he just kind of puts up a, kind of a nothing special game because there's just, he's not going to get a touchdown every week, and when he doesn't do enough other work to make up for it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, as far if Rodgers has better games, Aaron Jones is going to have better games. But
bold take: if the quarterback plays well, the team will play well.
Yeah, honestly, which this kind of that take does kind of lead into mine. So, are you set with yours?
I'm good.
If you don't mind me just
Go
hopping straight in.
ahead.
I just felt it was a very natural transition because I'm talking about how the Bucs are looking like a great football team.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as fantasy goes, and I will put the caveat, Ronald Jones is kind of defying this. He's had 3 good games in a row, but those first 3 games were rocky. As a football team, A+, looking great. They could, Brady could do a little bit better, but they're looking great. As a fantasy team, like a lot of their weapons are inconsistent. It seems like there's a my guy every week, which I didn't expect from Brady at all. I figured he was going to be like, it's going to be you, Gronk, it's going to be Godwin, and then sometimes Evan. And he was going to have a very just streamlined, simple plan as he's picking up, a new team, new players, all this stuff. But I mean, Godwin's not getting that much usage.
I mean, Godwin hasn't played.
He hasn't played. Yeah, I know. But like I expected this comeback game, especially with a hobbled Evans, to be kind of his resurgence into fantasy.
Sure.
Maybe he wasn't 100%, but we saw a bit of Gronk this time, and Gronk hasn't been there. Now people are going to go, is Gronk back? Is this time where we should be adding Gronk if I'm one of those guys who went late on tight end and missed, or had a tight end that went down for the year or something like that? Like, it's just hard to read this team, and if I'm an owner of them, I am probably trying to sell my way out just because inconsistency is one of my least favorite things in a team. Ronald Jones I'm holding. I'm fine with holding him. Or if you want to sell him high. Like I'm fine selling Ronald Jones high and off these 3 in a row 100-yard games. Like, you look at this, and I feel like this team is going to be winning a lot off of like competent defense and short yardage, which is okay for fantasy, but you're not going to see the yardage there. You're going to be having a lot of touchdown-dependent players not getting full fields to drive. Like, you look at last night's game, one thing that they did, they played very cleanly. They 0 penalties for the Bucs, whereas as to what you guys were talking about, they weren't prepared for the Bucs, the Packers. They had 6 penalties for 76 yards.
Yeah.
Only 1 red zone appearance which they did convert, but like, you look at this, they had the Bucs had no turnovers. Like, this looks like New England Patriots style football where it's just no turnovers, no penalties, nothing too flashy. Let's beat them and get out of there. Like, and they just shut down what the Packers do best, and they shut down they limited Aaron Jones, and they made Rodgers try and beat him with 1 receiving option, which clearly is not going to work. So I think this is zero worry on any Packers players. If you own them, they're fine. Maybe they're a little more they're a little more matchup dependent than you like, but I don't expect this performance much, if at all, again.
Sure.
Whereas the Bucs, I think, like I said, I'm in the sell mode. For them. I'm a sell high right now after a good performance. If you can get something out of him, like Evans, you're going to have to hold with how injured and poor he's been playing.
I think actually you can get something good for Evans because Evans has been having the string of good games sort of been buoyed by the fact that Godwin hasn't been there to take targets away from him. You can probably get more for Evans. Right? I don't think Evans' value is going to go anywhere but down. So if you're trying to sell Evans, now is the time to do that. Godwin you probably want to hold because better days are likely ahead for Godwin, and he's been injured, so you're already selling it, 60 cents on the dollar. But
question for both of you guys: if you have Ronald Jones, are you selling him right now?
Depends on what else is on my team. I can't answer that in a vacuum. If Ronald Jones is like my, second or third running back, and I'm getting a running back, back in exchange for him, sure. If I can turn Ronald Jones into like Chris Carson or Joe Mixon, sure.
Yeah, I'm only trading him to trade up in the running back category. I'm not looking to turn him into pieces unless I really, really need, like, maybe if he's my RB1, I'm probably not gonna sell him. But if I'm decimated and I'm trying to fight for wins right now, maybe you can trade him to somebody who's a little bit hot on Ronald Jones, who missed him in the draft, and you scooped him up. Like, you trade him plus another piece, and you get a running back who might be struggling or injured, and then you get like a wide receiver back to help buoy your team, and now you've got some guy who might be coming back. Like, that's the kind of trades I'm trying to make with him. I'm trying to package him with something else that I want to get either move off my team, like maybe a Juju Smith-Schuster if someone still believes in him. I don't know who will at this point. I'm already losing the shine, and I'm Captain Hope over here.
You're losing the shine? Oh, Juju's in the dumpster for me. I shipped him off my team, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Deontay was already going into this past week, having missed like half the season to that point. Deontay was still the target leader on that team, and Chase Claypool clearly is their new Mike Wallace. So I'm out on Juju. I think Juju is a drop candidate. Maybe you can sell someone on his name and get like a wide receiver 3 back or something. Maybe you can trade him for T. Higgins, but.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with him. Like, there is, just because of his name, because of his popularity in fantasy, you might be able to get something for him. But
yeah, his value is way down though. His value is in the floor.
Yeah. But to keep it rolling, talking wide receivers, and you brought up T. Higgins, I just wanted to send out a message to my past self who was questioning this. Justin Jefferson, he's legit.
Sure.
I was questioning it after that first pop game. Like, is this, who he is? Is this going are they going to use him enough? Is Kirk Cousins a good enough quarterback to actually make this kid who he is? Yeah. I kind of hate that it seems to be looking like a, Thielen either pops or he pops. I don't like that back and forth. But I think if you're owning them, you should start both of them with confidence. And I'm excited to see what this kid can do, because I think he is the exciting new version of Stephon Diggs before the problem started. Like, we all knew Stephon had the talent. It was just he wasn't meshing with the team. He wasn't getting the targets.
Part of me wonders if that's more Kirk Cousins than Stephon Diggs, as we're seeing what Stephon can do in Buffalo this year. It seems like maybe Kirk just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, I was going to say Kirk Cousins was a good quarterback through like the last quarter of the game.
Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback when all of the pressure is off and he's just out there throwing the ball around, having a catch with his teammates. But when he's actually winning a game, he craps himself and throws for 3 picks.
Yeah, high hopes for that kid. When you saw him in Washington, he was like, "You like that? Like that? I want that back. I want that Kirk Cousins back. I don't want what we have now. Like, this is gross." I still remember back to week 1 when it was like we were going into the second half and he had 3 attempts. Like, what is going on? But at least this offense is starting to get going somewhere. They've got a week off, and they're going to be able to get Dalvin Cook healthy again, so they can get this ship rolling again. But I'm loving the prospect of Justin Jefferson on and going forward. I think he's going to be probably next year. Him and T. Higgins are going to be A.J. Brown for this year.
Sure.
And my final one, we were talking about, this is the Russ Cook season. Let Russ cook. This is the Baker is not cooking season. Baker is not baking. I made sure I pulled up the tweet so I can give some proper credit here, because I was surprised when I saw it. I knew Baker was playing bad, but per at PFF_George, the Browns pass blocking grade this year is first. They are the number 1 pass protecting O-line in the league. Baker Mayfield, his passing grade per PFF, 29th. So usually you want to say, oh man, if this guy could just have a clean pocket, if he can just get some production back there, if he can get some weapons, it's like, all right, Baker, you have some of the best receiving options in the game. You have 2 of the best running backs in the game. You now have the best pass protection. What's missing?
Sure.
I think, as Stephen A. Smith is pointing out, as everyone's pointing out today, maybe the problem's Baker. Like, maybe he's just not that good. I'm starting to believe it. I like the kid, love the swagger, but all the commercials, it was giving me those flashes of Manziel, who I think he's leagues better than Manziel. I'm not trying to say that, but
he does have a lot of commercials.
It is pretty bad.
I still believe in. Baker had a rough go of it to start. It could be to me. I look at this and it looks like it could be a little bit of a case of they might have to undo what the previous coaching staffs did. But the talent is definitely there. It seems like it's more of a mental thing with him, and that's that's correctable if you focus hard enough on it. If they work with Baker, they improve his short game. They turn him into someone who's able to maybe he converts to more of a check down Charlie for a little bit while he gets better at actually going through his reads and everything. I don't know, but I'm obviously not an NFL quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator, so I don't know exactly what steps they would have to take to fix Baker. But I think that he's not. I don't think he's a lost cause. Yeah. I mean, and especially this past week. I mean, he was playing the Steelers with busted ribs.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think that they should be out unless they somehow fall some way into the first overall pick.
Man, those Steelers though.
Yeah, Steelers are scary. I hated it as someone playing Big Ben this week because he didn't have to do anything. So why make the old man sling it when you're up?
I kind of hope that this is a Steelers year. Give Ben one more ring and let him retire on top.
But this part of me will die inside knowing that Tomlin got another ring.
I love Big Ben though. He's so fun to watch. I'd like him to close out his career with another ring.
Yeah,
and that Steelers team. I mean, they look like they could be the second best or maybe first best team in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean they look scary legit. And just like closing thoughts, I think Baker, to be fair, is getting a little bit of the Rosen treatment where it's just bouncing between coordinators, head coaches. Like stability clearly has an effect on a guy's progression. So if they can keep Stefanski there and Stefanski can keep working with Baker, I have hope for future seasons if they believe in him.
All right, I'm going to talk about some rookies in mine. First one, DeAndre Swift looked awesome yesterday. I don't know if you guys watched the Lions game, but he obviously didn't get the start. Adrian Peterson was out there to start the game, grinding away with his old man legs. And then DeAndre, finally got some opportunity, and I believe it was the second drive of the game. He goes out there, he rips off a huge run, 54-yard run, could have had more. Proceeds to get 13 more carries in the game outside of that big run. Ended up totaling 116 yards on the ground. So you take away the 54-yarder, he was still very effective. Punched two in the red zone, for touchdowns. He was getting the goal line looks. He got 3 receptions through the air for 7 yards. I mean, 18 total touches in this game, I believe. He looked like the running back that the Lions drafted in the second round. Like this is the performance we've been waiting for from Swift. I want to come out and say that this is his job to lose now, but it's still Patricia back there. We know what Patricia does. He's still going to mix and match it. He's going to play the hot hand. He's going to get old man Peterson in there because he is a love boner for him. But I do expect Swift to at least be the lead dog in this committee now with a chance to win it. He needs to be rostered in all leagues. He's, in my eyes at least, especially how decimated running back is, a weekly running back 2 at this point with running back 1 upside. And I wouldn't be shocked if he has the lion's share of the touches by the end of the season.
I agree. I like Swift. I think he looked great. I would just first like to welcome you to the Lions running back club, especially because you're coming in almost the same style I came in.
Oh no! I'm trying to. I added Swift based on the assumption that I thought that there was a good chance he pops this week. I added Swift, got him on my bench. I am 100% trying to trade him. While I am very excited for Swift, and I want him in Dynasty even more now if I don't have him already. But while I'm very excited for Swift, I am trying to move him because I do not want to have to be like, all right, I guess I'll put Swift in this week, and then Patricia decides that he's going to get 4 touches in this game, and you're like,
he does have a
what happened?
He does have a decently tough schedule coming up.
He does.
Yeah, I just look at this and
he looked really talented though. So
yeah, Just start sipping that Kool-Aid now.
It was against Jacksonville though.
I just want to say, like you said, as the carry-on guy here, carry-on came in behind LeGarrette Blount and had to work for his job, and then he started breaking out. But granted, he got hurt, so I'll give you that. But yeah, it's Patricia, so just
I hate him so much. He thinks he's Bill Belichick, and he's not.
It seems like it'd be simple. Just let the old man go. Just use your 2 second-round running backs and see who's better, and the other one's the backup guy. It's clear.
I think at this point in Carry-On's career, it's clearly Swift that's better.
Hey, you never know, okay?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they're sticking. Like, if they want to win games, I don't know why they're still rolling Adrian Peterson out there. Like, especially after you saw, especially after you saw what you saw this week from Swift. It should. I would think that to a professional NFL coach, it would be clear that Swift gives you your best chance to win games from your running back core. He's the only one to have a pop game like that. You know, he shows actual flash and like pizzazz and talent. He's not plodding around for 2.4 carries or 2.4 yards per carry, but he can punch into the end zone.
But like Adrian Peterson used to be so good in Madden.
Yeah, and you know what? And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But running backs have a shelf life. Even Adrian Peterson has a shelf life. Move on.
Tell that to Frank Gore.
Frank Gore's an anomaly. He's not a human. Frank Gore's an alien sent from space to play running back for every team in the NFL. Second one, and this one hurt. Not me personally, because I didn't touch this team with a 10-foot pole, but it hurts Frankie as an Eagles fan. Who are the Eagles going to start? They lost their last 2 starters this week.
At what position?
All of them. Like, they're out of players to start. Dallas Goedert's eligible to come off IR this week. That doesn't mean he's ready to go. Deshaun Jackson should be ready to play on Thursday. But we've all seen that happen before where it's like, oh, Deshaun Jackson might be suiting up this week, and then he doesn't. Alshon Jeffrey might come back soon, ? Like, it's Travis Fulgham and Boston Scott and Greg Ward, and it feels like we're in the same spot we were in last year, but worse somehow. Because at least last year they still had Miles Sanders, and, you know, this is the most, decimated I've ever seen a professional NFL team get. It feels like the Eagles have literally lost everyone.
Yeah, this is...
Like, at what point do they just trade Carson Wentz for picks and just, go get Trevor?
Yeah, this is a bad situation in Philly.
They should break that team down. That team is dead on its feet. There are other teams that would pay for their players' services. They're not winning anything with this squad. It's terrible. It's always hurt. They keep Miles Sanders because he's, a sophomore in the league anyway, but everyone else, just keep Sanders and Rager and just sell everyone else at the trade deadline. Get picks and just rebuild and have the number one thing you look for in the draft be have you ever got injured? Does anyone in your family have injury history? Do you have any friends that got hurt and they might have passed on the injury bug to you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they should just use some of those picks on a medical staff or something like that. Draft a guy straight out of Harvard Medical.
Oh yeah, fire your entire medical staff, Philly.
I'm still surprised that the whole Tyrod Taylor getting a punctured lung by their own doctor wasn't a Philly doctor.
Apparently, that's pretty common. It's just
from Philly.
No, apparently the type of procedure they were giving to Tyrod actually does puncture lungs fairly often. It's just a side effect of it, and it just so happened that Tyrod got a punctured lung directly before the game, so it was just ooh, that's bad timing.
Yeah, despite all the Philly injuries, I still somehow feel like they could win the NFC East.
But I don't care. That's not what I want. If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm Doug Peterson, I don't want to win the NFC East right now. Great, I might go 5-11 and win the NFC East, and then just get bounced immediately when I play a real team. If I'm the Eagles, I'm selling my parts. Because you can get good stuff for your pieces. Someone's gonna pay for Zach Ertz. Someone will pay a bunch of picks for Carson Wentz if you move him, and then you're basically guaranteed to not win any more games, and then you get Trevor. It's just. I don't see what they're trying to do in Philadelphia right now. They're like the fish from SpongeBob who's every morning I wake up and break all the bones in my legs. And every night I break all the bones in my arms.
You say they're gonna get Trevor, but the New York Jets still exist.
True. They can trade Carson Wentz to the Jets and get their first round pick. Perfect. And then my final one, back onto the rookie train. T. Higgins looks great. I was excited to see what this kid could do in the preseason. I was interested in him in in the draft. I thought he went to a great landing spot because obviously AJ Green is a zombie out there. He had a little bit of resurgence this week, but like, whoop-de-doo, I think he had 75 yards. Like, I'm not over the moon about that with the amount of targets that he's gotten so far this year. Like, T. Higgins has looked like the most reliable receiver on that team. Like, past 3 weeks, 77, 62, and then 125 yards. And with the exception of Jacksonville, which was the 77-yard game, it's been against tough competition. He went against Baltimore and Indianapolis. Two stiff defenses. And he's got significant volume every week, and he's done a lot with it. Like, I'm excited for this kid. He seems like he has great chemistry with Burrow, who also looks great, by the way. Like, Burrow looks like I know it's only 6 weeks in, but Burrow looks like he was a very good pick for the Bengals. He doesn't look like he was going to be a waste of a pick at all. I think that this is a guy that fantasy managers shouldn't be sleeping on. You know, you are, because Tyler Boyd's still on that team, and AJ Green's still on the team, and they're being led by a rookie quarterback, and this is a rookie receiver, and it's the Bengals, and no one wants to trust Bengals. But like, I think this is a guy that fantasy managers can trust down the stretch here. They can trust him from this point on as a top 36 wide receiver rest of season. And if something happens to AJ Green, which, you know, isn't crazy, AJ Green has been known to miss time frequently, and he's like 32. Like, if something happens to AJ Green, all of a sudden those targets are vacated, and then he's a lock. Like, then he's a lock to be a part of that offense, because then there's no one else to take work away from it. It's just Tyler Boyd, and Tyler Boyd's going to get his, but Tyler Boyd can't catch everything on that team. He's someone who, based on what I've seen so far, I'm trying to trade for him in redraft. Especially if I have a banged up wide receiver core, because I don't think even with how good he's been playing, I don't think you have to give up that much to get him. And he's someone who has weekly start interest for me, or start appeal for me. All right, well, that'll do it for the 3 and Out segment. Before we jump into waivers here, if you like the content we're bringing to you guys, make sure to give us a follow on socials, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that way you're notified whenever new content comes out. And as always, share us with all your friends, families, pets, recently deceased relatives, rocks that look kind of like people, whatever. Like, put us on for everyone, because the more views we get, and the more eyeballs that we get on our stuff, the easier it is for us to put out more content for you guys. That's the end goal. We want to help you guys win championships. So,
I mean, I don't want to help you guys win championships.
Yeah, I'm not. You guys can do your own damn research. I'm talking to the audience here, not you two. Actually, audience minus Garrett. Because I know you're watching, Garrett. Let's do some waivers. The only QB that I saw that is actually out there in any, serious amount that should be picked up is Justin Herbert for me. He's someone who he's another rookie QB who's looked really good. I'm still not convinced that it's not a mirage for him. I know he's been playing out of his mind, but I had questions about him in the draft. I want to see him. I'm more worried about him still than I am Burrow. I want to see him continue this throughout the year.
I mean, he's definitely had his rookie mistakes, but I mean, I think with Eckler missing time too, I think he's going to see a little bit more work. So, I mean, I think we're going to get a larger sample size of what we're going to see from Herbert.
Sure. But he's someone who I feel confident starting if I need to down the stretch. Maybe not an every week starter, but definitely a stream option against bad defenses. And at 45%, he'll be out there. Running back, we got a pair of guys this week. I'll start off with DeAndre Swift. He is rostered in 74.4% of leagues, so a pretty high amount, higher than we usually do. We only put him on here because he needs to be rostered in all leagues. Like, for a guy with his upside, 74.4% isn't high enough. So if he's out there and you're one of the lucky people in a league that the lucky 26% that doesn't have him, go grab him. I would be comfortable using as much fab as you need to at this point in the season, because the wire is going to be dry. So, if you're still sitting on a bucket of fab, just fire it at this kid and hope that he wins the job.
Can't take it with you.
You cannot, and it doesn't score you extra points at the end of the year. Boston Scott, 10.9%. He's going to be getting at least one start for the Eagles over the injured Miles Sanders. What that start is worth is at anyone's best guess. I mean, it's the Eagles. They don't have any starting players at this point. They're on entirely practice squad players. You would almost think the Eagles got hit by COVID.
Yeah, I mean, like it's lovely how they sent him in for an MRI this Monday. Like, so it was like, all right, it's not super bad where he's going into surgery, so it's not season ending. And then the MRI comes back and like, well, he's out Thursday. And it's like, you couldn't tell us what it is, what his diagnosis is, just Thursday.
Smoke screen.
They're just like
pocket sand.
I believe that they actually have like medical students in there, just like, well, this is not connected to that anymore, so Thursday is probably not going to happen. And there's like,
they've got like an old timey doctor in there. Like, I looked at his leg. Things are wrong. I prescribed him cocaine. It'll get the ghosts out of his knee. Like, make sure he takes 2 doses of heroin every morning, and it'll get him up and running in no time. Like, what do they do? Yeah, but and then J.D. McKissick, 22% of leagues. I didn't believe in him last week, and then I looked at him more over the course of the week as I was prepping for DFS. And the more I looked at that situation, the more I was like, shit, I think J.D. McKissick's a thing. So I used him a bit in DFS this weekend. I made some recommendations to people who needed a spot start. Like, you could do worse than J.D. McKissick. And J.D. McKissick showed up. I actually have a tweet here from Adam Levitan that was talking about Washington's running back usage over the last 2 weeks. J.D. McKissick has actually outsnapped Antonio Gibson, 66 to 57. He's had 9 carries to Gibson's 20, but he's had 14 targets to Gibson's 10. It's basically an even split. So, I mean, he's still a running back for the Washington football team. But if you need a spot start, he's getting receiving work. So in half point or full point PPR, I'm fine rolling him as like a Nyheim Hines type back. I'm good rolling him out there. And then I guess if we're throwing a bonus name onto the list, go pick up Gio. You know, Joe Mixon did get injured and come back onto the field this past week, but Joe Mixon could re-aggravate that. He could, try practicing this week, and we could find out basically, it was adrenaline keeping him going last week. And, after the game finished, he's like, actually, my ankles actually is pretty sore. If Joe Mixon misses any time or re-aggravates the injury he got on Sunday, you're going to want Gio. Gio is still a talented running back in a part of that, fast-moving offense. For wide receivers, we have T. Higgins, Travis Fulgham, and Preston Williams. Each of them are in the 40s for their percentages. T. Higgins is 43.8, Travis Fulgham is 45.5, and Preston Williams is 40.9. How are you guys prioritizing these three? Because I feel like these three are all ones where you could make an argument for any of them. And especially with the news that Fulham is going to be a weekly starter for the Eagles, even when Deshaun and Alshon come back. How are you guys prioritizing these three guys?
It depends for me personally on the status of DeMonte Parker. We still don't know if he's missing time or if it's just a hampering injury that he might not be full for game time. But if he is out in any extent, I'm prioritizing still T. Higgins because, again, everything you said earlier. Williams because the Dolphins have looked great in the passing game. Fitzmagic's looked more than serviceable.
Sure.
And, Fulham, that Eagles team just looks not great at all. So if I have to pick one of them, if I have to take Fulham as like a streamer or something, I guess I'm fine with it, but Higgins, Williams, Fulham.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm between Higgins and Fulham, and it's more dependent on what your situation is. Because Fulham is he's the literal only guy situation, I could see where he just gets peppered with like low quality targets. So he might be good for like a week or two until people start coming back. Mm-hmm. So if you need wins now and maybe you got some crucial buys coming up, if you're getting hit with the Vikings bye, which is coming up next week.
Yeah, it's a big one.
You might want to go ahead and grab him so you can start him. But if you have time to
spot
But if you need a guy for more of the long term, I think Higgins is more of the guy because I think gives you more consistent value, but he is still, like I said, he's the number 2 on his team. It is still a rookie quarterback, so I temper my expectations. So I think those are my top 2, and then Preston's there third, just because I'm still waiting for that. I know Fitztragic's coming.
I'm in the same order as you. I do love T. Higgins, but I think for me it's more what do I need? Because I think Higgins has the higher ceiling than Fulham. So if I just need consistent points every week, I just know he's just going to get targets. I'm going Fulham first, but Higgins is the most exciting one for me on this list. And then Preston Williams is behind both them because his value is tied to Devontae Parker missing time. Like he's going to get usage even with Parker on the field. We saw this last week. We've seen it the week before last week. But because it is still the Dolphins, his usage is limited. There we go.
Word vomit.
His usage is limited, which doesn't really affect the other two as much. So I would go T. Higgins, Travis Fulham, and Preston Williams in that order. And then tight end, Dallas Goedert, we mentioned it before. He is eligible to come off IR this week. It doesn't mean he's going to play this week, but because he did break his thumb. But he's at least out there. I would be adding him if I need a tight end. If I just lost Jonnu, I'm going out and grabbing him because we saw him be just downright excellent before he broke his thumb, and given the fact that we know he can do, we know for sure that he can do it, and that the Eagles are going to need people to throw to. He comes back, he's immediately the number 1 target on the Eagles to me.
Yeah, and I mean Ertz is missing 3 to 4 weeks, so I mean.
Well, and Ertz wasn't doing anything beforehand either. Like we already knew that Goddard was the tight end to own in Philly. Ertz and Sanders going down, and the other options being, let's say, mediocre at best. Goddard is the piece to roster in this Philadelphia situation, in this mire, at least outside of the running game. And then for our streaming defenses of the week, Bills at 60% ownership get the hapless Jets. If you're keeping score at home, we're going to be recommending a lot of defenses against the Jets. They're over 60%, but if you're in the 40% of leagues that don't have them, go grab the Bills. They're going to be awesome. Everyone's awesome versus the Jets. And then Chargers versus Jacksonville are much more likely to be available in your league. 19.3% owned. Jacksonville's fine, but they're not that great of a defense. The or that great of an offense. Minshew has looked like he's prone to making mistakes. He's been very up and down. They might put up points on the Chargers, but they could also, in the process of putting up those points, put up a couple turnovers also.
Yeah, I'm looking to see. Bosa should be big in this game, so that line is nothing special.
Yeah. So those are the defenses that we are recommending. Is there anyone? So out of the players we just listed, is there anyone that you guys want to add in there that we didn't have on the list?
No, I think we pretty much hit everybody that's going to be out there.
Sure. Well, that'll do it for us then. Keep an eye on the podcast for later this week as we bring you the Week 7 Countdown Show. And I hope that everyone does not get Monday Nightmared or causes a Monday Nightmare if that's what you need. Adios.